Did you know that even some carnivore-friendly foods can cause you to overeat and not achieve your goals? I definitely have some of those, and I'm going to share them with you today. Hi, I'm Jen. If you're new here, I am delighted to meet you. Today, we're going to talk about 5 carnivore-friendly foods that I tend to overeat and are just really not serving me and helping me to achieve my goals. The first one is smoked ribs. Just having them by my nose, I'm like in heaven. I love them so much. And I've said for a long time that of all the carnivore foods out there, my favorite is smoked ribs. Ribeye is my favorite food that makes me continue to feel good too. I mean, I could eat ribeye every day and not feel like I have any negative consequences. But when I have these pork ribs, I never feel quite as good. Of course, there's a difference in the quality of meat between pork and steak, between a pig and a cow. But, I've noticed that my whole time as a carnivore, and I just want you to know you're not crazy if you feel that too. My next guilty pleasure that I'll share that does kind of hurt me in some ways is pork cracklins. Same with pork rinds, actually. I prefer pork cracklins though, so these are the ones that I tend to overeat. But it's just that I find myself wanting to snack on these, not ever because I'm hungry, but because I thought about them, I have them in the house, I just want a quick bite to eat on a road trip, or I want to have something at a movie. It's always just for the event of eating more than it is actual nutrition. And I'll point out it's way worse if they have any kind of seasoning or flavoring, so I pretty much just don't ever get those. These ones are just plain, just with the pork and the salt. But still, I get very snacky around these guys. Also from the pork category, pepperoni and other processed meats like this. Now, I understand very clearly that something like the pepperoni and the ribs, even though they don't have carbs and all that, they are potentially processed and or cured with something that is not perfectly carnivore friendly. And I've always kind of thought that that's why I don't feel as good when I eat these. But I'm starting to notice more and more lately that I'm just wanting to overeat this kind of stuff. So I have to be really careful. And actually the same goes for my favorite bacon. This is by far my favorite brand. This is always the one I get. And honestly, I don't feel like it was a big problem for me in the past, but for the last few months, I just find myself wanting to make multiple batches of this and eat it like at 9 o'clock before I go to bed. I'm not even hungry, but I'm like, I could use some bacon. Again, this is cured with some things that are not 100% carnivore friendly, and I understand that is probably a huge part of the problem. But even if it was just pork and salt only, I still think that bacon would be tricky for me. It's just so palatable. And the last food that I noticed that I really like to overeat is homemade beef jerky. Now, non-homemade beef jerky would be the same. It's just that I never have that. I always make it myself. But once I make this, I cannot stop eating it. Every time I walk by the bowl, I just grab more and more. And it's literally just beef and salt. In fact, I use brisket and salt, so it's really fatty even. But yeah, I still want to overeat and overeat even when I'm not hungry. I've started to notice this a lot more lately because for the last few months, I had been focusing on trying to decrease my calories a little bit just to lose a little bit of weight. And ever since then, it's like my body wants me to eat more of these foods. And I'm not just giving it hamburger patties and tuna. I'm giving it all of this pork, these things that are a little bit processed, and then something that I love so much, the beef jerky. Some things that I'm gonna do to hold myself accountable are avoiding having these things in the house, but also avoiding going out of my way to get them for something that I've deemed a special occasion. So for example, if I've got a road trip coming up, instead of making a batch of beef jerky, which I will eat 90% of it before the road trip even starts, I need to think of other foods that I could have in the car, like burger patties, or honestly, maybe some kind of fish, as long as it's not too smelly, or if I'm in the car by myself and not gonna smell out my friends, those would be options. Or if I'm gonna watch a movie, I don't need a movie snack first of all, but if I am gonna have one, I could have something like chicken thighs or chicken wings, or again, burger patties, something that I'm not gonna be quite so tempted to overeat. Pepperoni and those other kind of processed and cured meats are something that I frequently get, especially on road trips because you can get them at a gas station. But they have other options like eggs, for example, that would be perfectly healthy to get me by, and I'm definitely not gonna overeat boiled eggs. Now the ribs, I don't wanna give up, but I can just eat them only when I'm out to dinner in a social situation or something like that, rather than calling in a takeout order and bringing it home multiple nights a week. Same with the bacon. I can have eggs in the morning for breakfast without bacon. Instead, I could have something else I love, like short ribs or burger patties. I keep saying burger patties, and the reason why is that I love burger patties. They're really delicious, but I'm never ever tempted to overeat them. And with the exception of the jerky, I'm really never tempted to overeat any kind of ruminant meat. I'm able to tell when I'm hungry, able to tell when I'm full, and I'm able to stop. But there's something about the pork that it just doesn't have the same effect on me. I can just keep eating and eating and eating. You know, some people may say it's not even a problem, but I think it is, especially as a person who has a history of binge eating. I don't want to be controlled by food. I don't want to make decisions that are not in my best interest and that I wouldn't otherwise make if I wasn't being driven by sort of overactive taste buds, I guess you could say. So if this is something that you deal with too, I would challenge you to think about what are those foods that are doing it for you and what can you do differently? How can you get them out of your house? And how can you go forward with special occasions without feeling like you need to include these foods in those special occasions? Definitely let me know in the comments what foods are doing this to you, and we can talk through it together and figure out how to eat the best way that's going to keep us healthiest and most sane. If you like this, just let me know. Like and subscribe, and also catch me on Instagram. We can connect there every single day.